Hello everyone and welcome to another Healing Perspective raid. Today we're on an Rdruid, going for a 6 out of 6 SSC run with a GDKP group. It's pretty early in the morning, I don't usually raid at this time, but should be fine, should be good, should be fun. So I'll just be providing commentary and comps for a healing point of view as we go forward through this raid.
Five, four,
For these packs we just
three,
need to stack up really
two,
tight and make sure that I have
one.
pre-hots on the tanks as they go in. And pray to God that nobody's going to get one-shotted by the charge.
Trinket.
Silence, so my life wounds are falling off. But it's not the end of the world.
Trinket. Trinket. Trinket.
And you just always want a rejuve on whoever's actively tanking, or as many as possible. Just because it helps you swift mend if needed on the tank if they take an extra burst of damage there. And one thing I want to check is see if the other Resto Druid also has improved Mark of the Wild, which he does, so we're good. I don't have to worry about overriding his marks as well.
Trinket.
So I'm going to position myself in such a way that if he decides to breathe on the raid, I can easily move away from everybody else. So if it's on me, I'm not spraying anyone else, and if it's on somebody else who's not paying attention, I can just get away from them. Luckily, I'm a druid, so I have dash, which makes this a lot easier. I'm also life from one
Trinket.
of the tanks who's not tanking anything. but I guess if there's nothing else to do, it's not the end of the world.
Trinket.
Alright, so these ads just threat drops, so you gotta be careful as a DPS, and as a healer, just be ready to heal anyone who does pull threat on them. Paladins obviously can buff, otherwise just kind of heal through it. It's not the end of the world, they don't hit very hard, so if they go on, like, DPS, they can usually take 1 or 2 hits and be fine with them. But you'll see here they continue to drop threat, and then they're just going on the DPS. Oh, well, okay. 1 hit for Clothies then. And I heard a Warlock Shatter, I don't know if it was him or not. Go
5,
until we kill Vaj
4,
in an hour and a half,
3,
right?
2, 1.
Trinket.
So, just make sure you're in melee as soon as possible. If you get charged, it's very tragic. I just got charged. I was the last one because trees waddle. I need to make sure if that's happening that I'm popping Barkskin on my way in. And honestly, as a tree, I should be running in humanoid form, or just making sure that I'm really up with the people in the beginning, since there will be a tiny bit of a tail anyway, just to make sure that I'm not getting charged. If you are the person soaking the charge, usually it's a Holy Paladin or a tank or maybe even a Resto Shaman. Just know that they do have a relatively small maximum range, so you still need to be relatively close to the group. You just need to be the furthest person out. It has about a 5 to 8 yard minimum range and about a 20 to 25 yard maximum range. So if you're further away than that, they're not going to charge you at all, and they're going to charge somebody else. They always will charge someone. This is not a type of trash pack where if everybody's full stacked, it won't charge at all. We have a Colossus coming in.
Trinket.
Oh, I thought I had it further forward.
Trinket.
That was a good distract by the rogue, though. So again, I'm going to be off to this side. That way if he sprays... Oh,
Trinket.
God, he's loud.
Trinket.
Okay, so he's spraying and it's on Zox.
Trinket. Trinket.
I think, Zox is in my guild. Our guild does a different strat for that.
Trinket.
Okay, it's on the rogue this time. He's dead. Ooh, this is getting ugly.
Trinket. Trinket.
Yeah, that was the rogue that got targeted there. Why is this paladin taking so much damage? So this poison, the effect is definitely bigger than it looks, so just be really careful when you're running out. I should have popped my trinkets way sooner there, in combat, to help with the issues. Crickets. I'm gonna be really upset if these aren't going for like 1500 plus. This doesn't go for 1500 plus.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Trinket.
Yep, nope, too slow. Waddle, waddle. Our charge target is too far out there. For when they're getting dragged in, he needs to be a little bit closer. Okay, charge target's dead, be careful. So that was just sloppy by me, the exact thing that I needed, that I said I needed to work on last, but I didn't do quite in time. I was like only a couple yards maybe behind the next closest person, the next furthest person, but that's just a mistake that I need to not make. Our charge target needs to walk up maybe another 5-10 yards as we're pulling also, or else that's what happens, because as the mobs are getting into position, they don't, they're still out of range of the paladin who's soaking them. I'm in awe that it went for 900 gold. I almost want to bring my crafter to this run just for that alone. I could be making 3-4k per craft if I'm buying those for 1,000 gold each. Turn off WIM for now. Got lots of people missing lots of buffs still. Who did I scrolled somebody and it wasn't me. There we go. What? Two stacks is going to be such a loss in DPS because you've got to keep swapping back and forth and back and forth. That's gross. Alright, we'll see how this goes. I don't know what this group's DPS is like, but if they're swapping between 2 and 3
Trinket.
stacks, that's going to be a lot of sets of ads regardless. And it's just a DPS loss because every time you transition, everybody has to stop DPSing. We're running 6 healers. I really don't see why we'd have to. But it's their raid. I've never been with them before. We'll see how it
Trinket.
goes. Maybe I'll learn something.
Five, four, three,
I'm life blooming the wrong
2,
person. The warrior is the
1.
frost tank, I think.
Trinket.
I cannot allow you to interfere.
Well, the drums only hit one person, but that's on us, not him. He told us he was going to do it. I'm just going to get to a position where I'm not going to get bubbled, or I'm not going to bubble anyone else
Trinket.
if I get bubbled, and just chill here. So the water tomb damage stacks with how many stacks, or increases with how many stacks the boss has. So you, as the fight goes on and the boss gets to 3-4 stacks, if that's what your group is doing, then you need to make sure
Trinket.
that you're pumping extra heals into them. It only affects one person. If it affects more than one, it's because they're not spread, and that's a DPS loss. So it's worth the extra DPS to spread ahead of time, because then if you get hit and you're incapacitated for 5 seconds, you're never going
Trinket.
to make up that DPS just by moving for 2 seconds. This boss is getting hit
Mana.
really hard, considering
Trinket.
the boss, or this tank's getting hit really hard, considering how weak the boss is right now. I fucked
Trinket.
up here. But looks like we're okay. I didn't pre-hot the tanks enough.
Trinket.
And I'm just letting my life blooms fall off because I'm a monkey. I probably could have saved my trinket pops a little bit there until the boss hits 50% on the next stack. Or I should just be saving them for the transition in general, since I'm a mobile healer and several of our others aren't. Since the ads are gone, I no longer have to worry about the paladin tank. Now I'm just going to keep pumping into the druid, and as we approach the swap, I'm going to start rehotting the warrior and moving.
Better. Much better.
Okay, so apparently I misinterpreted what they were saying about when they were going to swap the boss. This is fine. This is normal. I do need to also keep rehots on this paladin though. It's like one. Okay, there's the list on everybody. A pop of regrowth. Oh, that's 5 people hit by water tomb. They just need to
They have
spread better.
forced me to this.
And melee just all got hit. He'll be out beforehand. We just need to make sure that he's rehotted. Same with the paladin. Innervate that mage. He's our top DPS, and he asked first, so that's good enough reason for me. Nope, Zoxbold. think that was a lay on hands right there. Looked like a lay on hands. Though neither of our paladins are Yep, okay, so the tank used it.
Trinket.
As you can see over here, right here. It's alright, that's what it's there for, but... especially during these phase transitions. The druid isn't going to be taking a lot of damage, because the boss is at low stacks. But the paladin is going to be taking a lot of damage, so I think some healers just need to be on their toes going forward about, like, who's actively taking the most damage at any time in the fight, including myself. I'm not always perfect with that.
Trinket.
Oh god, why? Why? Pop my trinkets here, pop all my cooldowns. Try to keep everything alive. You can... these are stunnable. Clean as fuck.
Not I.
Gonna go click the console really quickly. So what do we get? Leather, melee with expertise, shoulders, and idol requested goddess. That's really bad. I might take it for Solarian, but that's such a niche thing. So on Solarian, you can basically spam regrowth the entire time. I find that's the easiest way to handle it, especially if you got 2 Resto Druids. Having one of them just spam regrowth helps a lot, keeping her arcane missile targets up, because it provides that big burst of 3k healing, especially because Resto Druids have like a 60% crit chance with the initial heal of their regrowth. So I might take it just for that. Though honestly, the you never go even doing that, so I'm not really sure if it's worth it. So for these next 6 pulls, the 6 big trash packs between Hydros and
5,
Lurker, you
4,
definitely want to be
3,
focusing healing
2,
on the Paladin,
1.
because he's going to take the majority of the damage at the beginning of these pulls. He runs in first, he consecrates, everything goes on him, and then the other tanks taunt off of him. So it's important that you front load any pots if you're a druid or priest, or just a lot of healing off the Paladin in the beginning, until a couple of the ads die. There is raid damage whenever the priestesses die. They do a Holy Nova that hits everybody within 10 to 15 yards, but it's not vital, or it's not fatal. Even if both of them go off, it's not going to kill anyone, unless they have Holy Fire, which I do right now. So it's kind of scary to see the whole raid take a shitload of damage at once, but it's never going to kill them, so just make sure that you're focusing on the people who actually need healing, and letting the AoE healers deal with the rest, and if you are an AoE healer, just make sure that you're still keeping the tanks up. That's your priority. Just because the raid's taking damage doesn't mean it's going to actually kill them. Make sure tremors are down. These honor guards, when they get below, somewhere between 50 and 30%, they will do an AoE fear. So it's important that we watch that technician in the back. It's important that we have a tremor totem down, especially this first one. You can skip this technician if everybody hugs left. Nope, we pulled it, which just means that it looks like a recipe was there. So. But just tremors in general, as a shaman, you always want them down, as the honor guard is dying. Most groups... oh, it was a spyglass, nice. Most groups seem to kill the honor guard last. That's fine. It's really the only dangerous one that you want. So if you're single target DPS, it is my opinion that you should be hitting the honor guard while everybody else AoEs. That way everything kind of dies at the same time. That's more of a sweaty speedrun strat. If you're actually concerned about the damage throughput of the ads on your tanks or your raid, then you don't have to kill the honor guard first, because they're not very threatening.
Five, 4, 3, 2,
Oh, here we go.
Trinket.
1.
Go pop trinkets. This is kind of a scuff bowl, so I just want to make sure that I've got the throughput that I need. I definitely want rejuve on the tanks in case they need a swift mend, though I shouldn't have let my life bloom fall off to do it. That was sloppy. 2 technicians in the raid. Alright, we got those taunted back. Still letting my life blooms fall off. So as a Resto Druid, you can have Life Bloom up to active on up to 4 targets at once without letting it fall off. Life Bloom, you have to renew every 4 globals. So with 3 tanks, which is going to be the normal setup, you can Life Bloom all 3 and then rejuve 1 target and or Swiftmend and or Regrowth and still have time. And keep it up on all 3. Now obviously as soon as all 3 aren't tanking, or as soon as one of the ones that is tanking isn't really taking that much damage, you don't need to focus on keeping Life Bloom up on all 3. But it is a good way to make sure that the tanks stay alive. You let the raid healers do the raid healing, and you focus on keeping the tanks up. Because as a Resto Druid, that's your job. Sorry for the noise, my cat's being very active this morning. And again, we know the melee is going to take damage here because the Priestess is dying. But it's certainly able to be healed through with Circle Healing and Chain Heal. We're not really going to worry about it. The SSC last night, I think it went really well. We killed 5 out of 6, that's what we went in there to do. I came on my Holy Pally to an SSC run. We killed 5 out of 6, we had a couple wipes, but they weren't to anything egregious. One of them was literally a pug's fault, and that pug continued to have the same issue the entire night, where he wasn't watching his threat, he wasn't in the right position. It seemed like he wasn't in Discord, even though he was. He was just kind of brain AFK for the whole run, so I can't even say that that was the fault of anyone in particular other than him. The run went really smoothly. I was really happy with how it went. And again, some people really just come to these to get gold, but I mean, if you're coming to a Forbes GDKP to get gold, then I don't really know. It's kind of weird because Forbes doesn't have that big payouts. It's a great place to get gear. I mean, I guess if this is your only option, come here for gold, but there are other GDKPs for gold. But if you want gear, Forbes is the place to come. And hey, if you're a buyer, fucking come to Forbes. Get gear for cheaper. Or big bid on it and make these runs give out big gold. So I'm going to bid on that literally just for Solarian, but I honestly don't think mana's ever been an issue on Solarian for me. It's just going to be to play around with. I just realized I didn't bring like any gold on this character. So if a big ticket item drops, I'm going to have to bring a tune outside with more gold. Getting stuck in the floor there. So to fish up the boss, you only need 300 fishing, and that includes a lure, so you can be pretty low and still get the boss. But the more people, the better, obviously. And the higher it is, the higher the chance that you'll actually snag him.
5, 4, 3.
So I'm pre-hotting the tank here, the Paladin tank especially, because I know he's going to be front-loaded on damage here. Looks like DPS are... Ooh, I almost pulled there. So right there, you saw exactly what I meant. All the ads that were on me that then got taunted off of me all hit the paladin at the exact same time, and he took about 60% of his health in a global. I can try to work on watching my own threat or just being closer so that I'm in the consecrate the entire time there. That he'll just. Oh, okay, I did get interrupted. But otherwise, I mean, and this is really a minor thing, but it's something that you can try to keep in the back of your mind, is when you AoE stun things or when you AoE taunt things and they all go back and hit the tank at the exact same time, you don't always want to line up their autos like that. Morgrim Tidewalker is a great example of that. If you AoE stun the Murlocs, that's great, but then once 10 Murlocs come out and they all hit the tank at once, that can be very dangerous. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. It's one of the reasons that kiting, whether it's on Morgrim or in dungeons like Shattered Halls, or other dungeons where you're doing bigger pulls if you have a Paladin tank, is so important. Also, if they're getting hit by too many mobs, their Holy Shield's just going to fall off and then they're going to be extremely vulnerable. But kiting also helps stagger their autos more, which means that the damage is more manageable. They're still going to take relatively the same amount of damage. A little bit less if they're kiting through a slow or anything. But even if there's no slow, kiting can still help stagger their autos. Your melee just won't like you quite as much because they have to move as well. But if it's the difference between surviving, then at least from a healer point of view, I'd say always do it. Screw the melee.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Yeah, I got threat again.
Trinket.
So I'm going to come in here, make sure I'm in the consecrate. There we go. Really making our tanks earn their money this morning.
Trinket.
Got a lock. He's got a couple of them on him.
Trinket. Trinket.
Threats all over the place here. I'm actually going to start raid healing a bit, topping these people off. Oh, didn't get to the priest in time. It's almost always worth it in any heavy AoE scenario. And DPS, I'm talking to you here. Give the tanks an extra couple seconds, because if the ads stay stacked up, they will die much faster. Your seeding or using any type of AoE, a couple globals sooner, will often make the pull take way longer. And also you will lose other DPS, which, I mean, if you lose a single DPS, it's already never worth, right? Even at a 25-man raid, the DPS that they offer isn't worth the 100 DPS that you gain by seeding one global early. But then on top of that, when they're all stacked up, the pulls will go cleaner, they'll go faster. If you ever find yourself pulling a lot, I highly recommend you level a warrior from scratch to 70, or at least from 60 to 70 doing dungeons, and you'll understand what a nightmare threat is from AoE DPS. Help you empathize with their situation.
Five, four, three, two,
Trinket.
one.
Use
Trinket.
there. Kiwa alive.
Trinket.
These are really just a threat nightmare. You delay your seed by a couple seconds, it'll make these pulls go faster.
Trinket.
It's not just consecrate either. About half of a
Trinket.
paladin's total threat comes from Holy Shield. So especially with melee mobs hitting the paladin, it's very important that you actually let them hit the paladin a couple times, because that's where the majority... Holy Shield is about half their threat total, so if you let them hit the tank a couple
Trinket.
times, it's a huge deal too. It's not just Consecrate. You're right, you're right.
Trinket.
Paladin peed his pants, Aura. Yeah, we're kind of, light on range DPS here. Minutes, we should refresh that. So the thing to... Oh. Actually gonna rebuff here, because they're gonna fall off mid-fight. So having the tank with their back to that pillar there also helps in case they do get hit. They barely get knocked back at all. So I need to be careful. Where I'm standing right now is right around where one of the melee ads spawns. But I want to be here so that I am in range of the tank and this platform here. I'm not at all worried about being in totem range here. The only one that I'd get that would help me anyway is Mana Spring, which, I mean, it's big, but it's not that big. I should be absolutely fine. I've got potions, I've got Dark Runes if I need them. Got a Feral Druid who says he'll innervate me. See if that happens or not. I might just have to call for it. So you can actually see the boss spawn below the water. If you're paying attention. Yeah, so like tanks and stuff, if they're fishing, you have to be especially careful because they're going to be pretty close and they don't have a shield on when they're fishing. Or they're not in bear form when they're fishing. It can be very dangerous. Actually, what are my graphics? Are they at 10? Like the further you are away, maybe it's easier to see. You can always just do this too, but that's not a great angle. And also be aware that as soon as the melee ones die, that's what triggers the boss to respawn. So if melee are killing those first, then going to help, then the boss is going to be respawning and whirling, or I'm sorry, spouting while they're still trying to kill that last ad. Who the fuck is that? That's so loud. Gonna re-scroll myself here. There he is.
Trinket.
Sound effects are all fucked up here for some reason.
Trinket.
Sorry, I don't really need to hear my pots hitting people.
Trinket.
I'm gonna save my trinkets for spout because that's when the most people take
Mana.
the most damage. It's not even that.
Beware.
It's because everybody's jumping in the water. That's when people are taking a lot of damage. I probably could have waited, but there's no real reason to. It's important that you don't jump excessively while you're in the water, because you do take 1,000 damage every time you jump out of the water and then land back in it. Just gonna have big pre-hots back on the tank, be ready to swift mend him as he takes these first couple hits. Like that. We lost a lot of people there to stupid. Gotta watch this ad right here, because he's gonna spawn next to me. There we go. As soon as he gets rezzed, he's just gonna die again anyway. To the water damage. I can be res Christ. Oh, too late. Jeez, it's a long ass.
Beware.
Since I'm so close to where the tank is, I just have to be ready to move really quickly.
Trinket.
Spout to make sure that I don't get hit by it. Lost, and I need to move a little bit to my left because it goes about 380 degrees, not 360.
Trinket.
Well, it's dead now.
Trinket.
Binding isn't working here. This is a pretty fucking sloppy pull. We're the easiest boss in this instance.
Beware.
Trinket.
Get to a resable position though.
Health. Health. Trinket.
Oh,
Health. Trinket.
oh, you feared them. Why did you fear them? Okay. I mean, looks like our DPS was high because we had a whole bunch of DPS die too, but... They just have to be careful when they're... Just gotta be careful when you're repositioning them, because if you're dragging them through healers and other range who are on the big platform, they can get cleaved. Yeah. Them trying to maximize their DPS and get 5 seconds more of hitting something, I think is gonna end up killing healers or other range who are on the main platform. And given how sloppy that first one was, I don't really think it's worth it. I appreciate the effort of trying to maximize your DPS, but the risk here with a group that's dying to spout is pretty high. Shameless plugs. Well, he rezzed himself, so it makes him Jesus. still getting reses out. Oh, nice. Got a soul stone. Melee at. Okay. Kiwa straight up just pulled threat. Didn't even notice that. 40 seconds into. How? But if you use it on, yeah, if you use it on somebody else to go res them, they're still gonna die as soon as you res them, right? Because they're gonna plop back into the water, immediately take 1,000 damage and die. Maybe. I've never seen it happen successfully. Maybe it can be done, but no. It's the auto death. Okay. Yeah, Kiwa just straight up pulled threat 40 seconds in. And I'm gonna go back over to my position. Alright, you know what? This is something that I preach pretty much every stream, and I highly recommend everybody do it if you know what you're doing and you have Pally Power installed and you are able to type. You can go in and edit Pally Power yourself to your own buffs. For instance, warriors still don't have kings here, so I'm going to go ahead and set Kiwanoka by left clicking and setting the guy who's giving him kings, going to set it to Salve instead. Same with Madara. Left click, hover over, then give him Salve. So if you're getting the wrong buff for whatever reason, and don't be the asshole hunter who sets your salve to might instead and then pull and wipe the damn group. Don't be that guy. But changing blessings, if you have paladins who are new or simply overwhelmed with everything else going on, you can easily go in. Up here at the top, you left click on your name, you hover over the guy who's giving you the wrong buff, and you set it to the right buff, and that will tell them to give you the 10-minute buff of whichever one you need. Paladins usually don't question Pally Power, they just kind of do it, so it can be useful for that. Otherwise, I'm just going to pre-hot the tank here. But again, if you don't know what you're doing, don't fuck with Pally Power. Download it and play with it on your own before you're playing with it in Raid, because that can be really annoying. Aw, he wussed out. Now, if you're really bad at getting hit by Spout and you're usually on
Trinket.
the melee platform, you can stand with your back to a pillar like this. That way, even if A, it probably won't kill you, and B, if it does, thanks, dying, you're still going to have, you're going to be in B-res range. So if whether they want to use a B-res with someone who's not
Trinket.
Spout is a different call entirely. So threat looks okay here. You can see some range really high up, but they don't matter on this fight. They cannot pull threat, so we're just
Trinket.
checking to make sure that nobody in melee range is gonna pull threat again.
Beware.
Go Going the other way. As soon as spout comes out, I'm gonna pop my trinkets, start healing people. Okay, don't do that. Pre-hot the tank again as it finishes its rotation. Get ready to swift mend him. His
Mana.
heals are they always tend to be a little bit light when the raid's taking a lot of damage, and the tank's about to start getting hit again. There aren't precasts on him or pre-hots on him. So that's always a good time to have it rejuve up so you can swift mend, or regrowth. Swift mending with rejuve is always better. It will always heal for more. And in terms of maximum efficiency, you always want to do it toward the end of the hot, but that's not as important. Just focus on keeping the guy alive with swift mend. So it looks like both people died to spout there.
Health.
Oh no. Okay. Well, we lost the priest. I'll res the healer. Gotta keep the tanks up here though. Priority number one. Resing all day heals.
Mana.
Do we have an innervate for all day heals? So an innervate as a druid will basically bring me back up to 100% mana. No matter where I'm at, it'll basically give me 100% of my mana bar, so I'm not too worried about grabbing one at this point from the feral who said he could. I am saving mine for our pumping mage for when he wants it. Gonna make sure I'm not in melee range of the boss. As he's coming up over us, he can melee you.
Trinket.
He's out of line of sight. As soon as he's in line of sight, I'm gonna innervate him. And you heard the call there, which is correct. The boss doesn't go 360 degrees, he goes like 380. So if he starts to one side of you, but basically right next to you, you have to be very careful. Whoa, tank's dying. I'm gonna pop my trinkets here, I think. Just help stabilize things. I tend to pop both trinkets at once, usually, but that's not obviously necessary or really completely optimal. So any overhealing that you're getting popping both is just a waste. But the damage on this fight is very predictable unless people are screwing up mechanics, so I'm not too worried about
Beware.
huge amounts of raid damage at any time. So I need to be aware again where I'm standing, just because when the ads spawn, they're going to spawn basically on top of me. So I'm going to come over here a bit, and don't get stuck on these tiki torches either. That's a very tragic way to die. Just trying to run from spout and then running into the tiki torch. Okay, adds up, so now I can move back. So, I want innervate from the druid. He's on the far side of the platform, and he's got a lot of stuff to deal with, so I'm just going to move my way to him. And then ask for innervate at the end of this phase. Maybe don't let the tanks die while I'm doing it. Just stay in range of my druid friend. Is he gonna innervate me? Doesn't look like I'm getting an innervate. Alright, I'll just head back then. Gotta be careful, because he can spout right off the bat, and I want to not be next to the tank when that happens. That was a really early jump, but that's okay. I'm just gonna pop Arc Skin and heal through it.
Trinket.
Get it for the pad.
Trinket.
I'm gonna pop a Dark Rune here since I'm not getting an Innervate.
Trinket.
I let my mana oil fall off because I'm stupid. Wasn't paying attention.
Beware.
It's like Legendary used his innervate on someone else, so I can't ask him for his either. He's a feral druid, so he'd be one of the ones that I'd ask first. We should be okay here, though. My mana potion will be up in a minute. Oh, gotta be away from him before I die. There we go. Throw a couple hots on the people on the range platforms who are tanking the ads until they get CC'd. Oh, he died. And then the ad teleported. Fantastic. So if the melee ads do not have any, or if they are, there should only ever be 2 ads on that platform. So what happened there? What happened there was whoever was supposed to be tanking it in the middle ring did not have threat over the mage. As soon as the mage has, or anyone on the ranged platform has top threat, the melee ad will teleport to them and dumpster them. So because that was kind of sloppy, I'm a little bit low on mana here, but my mana pot's coming up, my dark rune's coming up, but I really don't want to be using those.
Beware.
Barkskin doesn't act. Oh, Rose? Okay, well that just happened. But Barkskin doesn't reduce the damage you take from the water. That's just kind of a bad habit that I had, where if I'm taking damage, I pop Barkskin. But the amount of damage that the water does is set. There's nothing you can do about it. Sounds like I'm dead. Nope, I got ported. Fantastic. I should have waited until they said the boss was dead. That was just stupid by me. I thought it'd still be alive. Though I think it still would have ported me out anyway. School is gonna need a summon. I DC'd and I got ported outside. That's gonna fuck up my logs for this too, which is unfortunate. I'm right next to the platform, but I got disconnected, so I'm not really sure where my corpse ended up. Should be right where I died. Scoobles. I was right next to the mage platform. Yeah, it's fine. I'm running back in. Scoobles did. Looks like I got out healed by my druid friend too. Damn. Yeah, because I disconnected, who knows where my actual corpse was. So for this path, there's a couple things to be aware of. Let me let him explain first. So the mages are the most dangerous. The mages are the most dangerous. They're marked with moon and diamond. The arcane ones and the fire ones are especially dangerous. They cast their abilities based on how long they've been in combat, even if they've been CC'd. So if the CC ever breaks on them, they can do massive damage to your raid immediately. And solve their stuff as instant cast, at least for the arcane ones. Arcane ones will hit the entire raid for between 2,000 and 4,000 damage. It's really scary. The fire ones have a rain of fire, which hits about
Trinket.
as hard, but you can basically negate it by just, not standing in the rain of fire. The strat that most people use is just CC them and kill them last, which is a perfectly good strat. It works very well. It helps minimize the damage going out here. Otherwise, the
Trinket.
Serpent Guards have... Well, the Tie Caller has a poison that you just need to cleanse. He puts a poison shield on himself that you need to purge or spell steal or otherwise dispel. When it gets applied to people, it hits them for about 3 to 4k attack. It can be
Trinket.
extremely deadly, especially on DPS. So if you just purge it off of them, then it won't get on the DPS to begin with, which is great. And then the Serpent Guards just have a spell reflect. Don't be a doofus.
Trinket.
If you don't have a spell reflect weak aura, I definitely recommend getting one. It's super useful for not killing yourself or your friends.
Trinket.
So this one's arcane, as we can see. They have a purgeable buff on themselves that tells you what type they are as well, because they will buff themselves with whatever type of damage they do. So mages definitely want to spell steal
Trinket.
those. Watch out for the Colossus coming in, especially if it's arcane or fire, and you have an arcane or fire mage. But it also just reduces the mob's damage substantially. They're doing 3k the
Trinket.
entire raid, and you take 300 spell power away from them. That's nice. The frost mages are relatively inconsequential. They just use Cone of Cold and Frostbolt. Cone of Cold, I mean, I think it either
Trinket.
roots or slows, but it's a funnel cone, so just don't get hit by it, and it does next to no damage. Alright, he's going on a adventure here, because DPS
Trinket.
can't watch threat. I used my dash macro there, and I didn't have dash, so instead of just pop me out of form.
Trinket.
Looks like we're probably going to get another one with this DPS. We just got to be ready to hustle. He's not. Alright, and no ability when he dies. That's fantastic. I'm actually not sure if this group this is gonna have time to go 6 out of 6. I could probably change that macro. We'll see how it goes. My stream title is definitely wrong though. I should probably focus on actually healing people though. Before I worry about my stream title. So it looks like we're doing good on purges. They're going out almost immediately on the tide colors. Oh. Our warlocks are really struggling with watching their threat today.
Trinket.
They're just pulling nonstop and dying because of it. If I was on a paladin, I could be bopping them, but there's not really much I can do as a resto druid. Even an NS probably won't save them. They'll just continue getting hit if the tanks aren't taunting fast enough.
Trinket.
I already have those, right? Yep.
Trinket.
Yeah, I mean, oh, we pulled. And I already popped my trinkets here. Get the Fathom Witches out of the raid, drop groundings. Shamans drop grounding totems. So groundings will prevent the MCs. What I'm going to be doing here is making sure that if anybody important gets mind controlled, I am cycloning them as soon as possible. I don't have Nature's Swiftness here, which is not great, but we should be fine. Legendary's got him. Cyclone Christ here before he gets AoE. Got a lot of people falling off this damn platform right now. So you just have to watch your positioning. Don't have your back, or don't be between the Fathom Witches and the edge. The Fathom Witches have a AoE knockback that hits everybody within 15 to 20 yards, so just don't get hit by it. Or if you are, don't get knocked in the water. It's understandable that the tank got hit by it because that was really scuffed positioning, but after that, other people getting knocked back, it's just sloppy. That's no. And more people.
Trinket.
Don't have your back to the water, guys. Voila. Oh my god. Gonna have start docking people for getting knocked down. 100 gold cut for everybody who got knocked off, right? Sorry, 100 gold each time some people got knocked off because it was more than one. I'm being kind of an elitist here. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, it's so avoidable. Already got those. They're not even best for druids, but I think, yeah, they're second best. Better be careful. They, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, apparently the English language is failing me right now. A recommendation, for lack of a better word, because I can't think of what I want to say here, from MDC is just as likely to get me 0 viewers as double. That's alright. I'm a struggling streamer, just trying to get attention. I think at this point, there's just not a lot of good healer point of views out there. So I think that it's really helpful to have someone who knows what they're talking about, for the most part, giving healers tips and tricks, and telling DPS to stop fucking pulling threat. Really, it's half that second part at least.
Trinket.
What is this? Nope. Caster belt. So here you gotta kill the water totems. It's not a huge deal anymore. It was in the beginning, but now they're not nearly as scary. Otherwise, tide colors, again, just gotta be purging them.
Trinket.
There's another tide color, there's another mage. This pack is really simple, there's only 3 mobs. The most dangerous part of this pack is that somebody's going to pull the other pack that's hiding right around this pillar here. You gotta be very aware of this. This is a frost mage. As you can see, he does dick all for damage. It's not scary at all. He just slows you a lot. But the most dangerous part of this pack, and you can barely see him, around that corner, there's another pack here. And a lot of times people will face pull that. Gonna innervate my mage friend here, just so he's ready to go for this pull.
Trinket.
Looks like there's quite a bit of AoE damage here. I'm going to pop Tranquility. Because I'm spec'd into it, it also doesn't cause threat. As soon as it's done healing, though, I can just stop casting it. You don't need to get a full cast off.
Trinket.
But the big thing there is because it was a rather scuff pull, I just didn't want to pull threat. And all 5 people were taking damage, so it's just a great time to pop Tranquility. It's not a talent that Resto Druids often run. I'm in a kind of janky Resto Druid spec right now, but it certainly works. It's
Trinket.
just 0061. There are some points that I can certainly take out of it. Improved Healing Touches, or Naturalist, I guess is what it's called, is dead stats. Like, I never use Healing Touch ever, ever, ever. So it's basically just stupid points that are wasted.
Trinket.
Some druids, especially if they're trying to aim for something else in either the Feral or Balance Tree, won't go into Improved Tranquility, but I find especially for SSC it's very useful on fights like Moragrim or Hydros, where ads can get scuffed very quickly, and it just gives you the
Trinket.
opportunity to continue healing people without causing any threat and putting yourself at risk. I'm also in a group with at least 1 tank, so... So most groups for this next pack will kill the lurker first. They drop mushrooms on the ground underneath people, and then you just move out of the mushrooms and continue. The speedrun strat for these is to actually focus the nether mages first, because they're the dangerous ones, and you just AoE off of them, and with enough warlocks and mages, you can just kill the mushrooms, even though they have quite a significant amount of health before they explode. These pulls are also dangerous because there's a lot of poison going out. Shamans, can we get poison totems for these next 2 pulls, please? The amount of poisons going out is actually, it can be very lethal, so you have to make sure that you're dispelling them, and shamans just help a lot with that. Their totems will dispel 1 poison every 5 seconds. Thanks, 9. 1 poison every 5 seconds, and when it is dropped, it'll automatically dispel 2 poisons on each person in your group as well.
Trinket.
So there are the mushrooms everywhere. They're called rancid mushrooms. You do not want to be near them when they finish growing and they explode. They will murder you. So the strat is just everybody kind of be together and then move as a group to avoid the mushrooms.
Trinket.
That was a good call by him. I wasn't paying attention. There's a shield bearer in there. Again, they have a charge. It has a maximum range. It has a minimum range. So if only 1 person is outside, they are not like 40 yards away. It'll just get cast on them, and they'll soak it. Good candidates for that are tanks. We got another mage coming in. Good candidates for that are tanks, or Holy Paladins, or Resto Shamans. Because they looked like they were...
Trinket.
I mean, with only 1 shield bearer, they're not really a threat. There is a pull later with 3, and there are a couple pulls with 2, and that's where they can be scarier. They can also melee as they charge. As soon as the charge lands, they will melee you, and that's
Trinket.
basically death to any clothy and most leather wearers. But that's why you want healers with a shield out there to soak them. But even like a shaman healer, and maybe even a pally healer, can't soak all three in the one pack that has three of them without being in real danger.
Trinket.
I'm actually going to turn off that sound effect. It's getting kind of annoying. Can we get a res on Shadow Player? Or is he AFK? There he is. Don't go too far left here, guys. They have to make sure that they're not face pulling that path, or the boss who's square left as well. That's basically an instant wipe if that happens. So we're all stacking up because there are shield bearers. No, there isn't a shield bearer in this pack. Never mind. There is a lurker though, and he's running rampant because ranged aren't watching their threat. Apparently, I didn't drink before last pull either. The Skulkers are very easy. They really have nothing to worry about whatsoever, so they're always the last priority to kill. And in a speedrunning setting, you would basically use them to just pull to the next pack. Excuse me. That is the speedrun strat, is you literally just stack everything up and AoE off the kill target and kill the mushrooms. So he has a dispellable buff here. Can we purge the mage? Well, they're arcane, not fire though, so. Yeah, if you wipe and the pack resets, it can swap elements, but otherwise it's gonna stay the same element for the entirety of the pull. So every time they enter combat, it seems, that's when their element is decided. We looked at, from a speedrunning point of view, going and looked and kind of fishing for seeds with good mages, i.e. a bunch of frost and or fire mages instead of arcane, because arcane are the ones that can really fuck up a speedrun. But that's not a thing that happens, because they don't choose their element until they enter combat. And like I said, they use their big AoE abilities based on how long they've been in combat. It's a set interval whether or not they're able to cast or not. I'm being a moron. Yeah, my fault. Should probably actually rebuff people. Healing's well under control here. I can spend a couple globals to just buff everyone. So he is clearly arcane. But with our DPS, he should only ever get one off. And again, it's not lethal damage as long as there's only one up and nothing else is going on. Probably most people can afford to get hit by 2 and not die. If you are squishy enough where you might get hit by a second and you don't think your raid has the DPS, just pop a Healthstone or bandage yourself or something as a DPS or a healer. Alright, so we gotta be really careful here not to pre-hot anything as everything's coming in, because then I'm just gonna pull threat and die. Probably didn't need... Nope, okay, NS didn't save him anyway. So he did exactly what you're not supposed to do, and I think he... No, maybe it was just a sheep, because it doesn't look like he did any damage. They're all immune to stun. So we have to be especially careful when we're grouped up here, like this, that if there are any mages, this is usually for the pack before, right? Because there's not a mage in this pack. If there are any mages and you're this stacked, you gotta be really careful about the fire mages. Assume a rain of fire gets dropped on the raid right now, it could be catastrophic. Or just, you know, don't tunnel, and when it does get cast, move out of it. So this upcoming boss has a couple phases. The first one, we're killing the 3 ads that he has. They do shadow damage, and it does AoE to anyone around their target. So just, if you're not melee especially, don't stack up. Easiest way to die early on this fight is, say, 2 or 3 Mind Blasts go off on a group of stacked up people, they can literally just get global. So try not to stack up, minimize your chance of getting hit. I'll continue the explanation after he's done doing his explanation. It's a water totem. So in a warlock group, it's not the end of the world if you're not dropping either a water or a healing or a mana totem, because they have life tap. I mean, it still helps if you can drop one or the other. Healing Stream does stack extremely well with healing power, so the more healing you have on a shaman, the better it heals. It also snapshots, which means say you pop anything that gives you extra healing power, like trinkets, then you drop your water or your Healing Stream totem, it'll heal for more for the entirety of its 2-minute duration based on what your spell power was, what your healing power was when you dropped it. The same works with fire elemental totems. Ironically enough, for enhancement shamans, it does not work on their talent that gives them damage from their intellect. Or is that mental quickness? Increases your spell damage and healing equal to your attack power. It doesn't work for them. And actually it scales off of nature spell power, not regular spell power. But because all regular spell power also works as nature spell power, it's essentially equivalent. However, enhancement shamans just kind of get shafted. One thing that you can do if you're trying to be super sweaty on a shaman is to just say like put on a bunch of spell power, then pop your fire alley, and then put on your regular set again. Though obviously that has to be done out of combat. Yeah, we definitely want shadow protection for this pack here. Again, the Mind Blast do AoE shadow damage on whoever they hit and anyone near them. For the first phase, while he's a human, he does a whirlwind. That's basically his only mechanic other than a threat drop. Every time he enters whirlwind, every time he enters human phase from demon form and vice versa, he has a complete threat drop, so DPS and healers just have to be aware of that. The whirlwind will always target the highest person on his threat table and then drop them from his threat table. So say you're third on threat going into the whirlwind and you stay there, then as the first person, as he whirlwinds them, he's going to drop them from their threat table. You're now going to be the second person or the third person he whirlwinds. Then he'll go to the second person and then he'll target you. He targets where you were standing when he started moving toward you, so everybody can avoid it, but that's not always the best course of action, especially if your healers heal
5,
through it. Just don't be
4,
super clumped up, and
3,
healers can manage it
2,
relatively easily.
1.
The first thing I'm going to do here as a healer, I'm not worried about, not worried about getting drums or anything like that, is because, especially because I'm super mobile, I'm just going to reposition way away from the rest of the raid group. One of the biggest mistakes raid groups make here is as these ads die, they're all going to be clumped up like they are right now, and that first whirlwind is going to do stupid amounts of damage. So as these last ads die, you want to be spreading out in preparation for that first whirlwind. Because the more you're stacked, the more people are going to get hit. It puts a really hard-hitting dot on everybody that does physical damage. It can be mitigated by things like armor, devo, aura, bop, anything that stops physical damage. And then the whirlwind itself also hits for about 2,500 every time you get hit by it.
My
Spread out, ranged.
ends.
Mana.
Otherwise, maybe, actually
Mana.
keep hots on the tank. That would help. Then the second phase, he goes into demon form. Just like the ads in the first, in the ad phase, he does AoE damage around his target. So we have a warlock tanking it. They're going to have a certain amount of fire resist on, so that they just don't get chunked by it. All of melee got hit. That's kind of predictable, though. So just as a druid, you can be pre-hotting them in expectation of the fact that they're going to get hit. I probably should pop trinkets there. But yeah, so the warlock tank is going to be getting hit by the fireball. Everybody else just needs to
Mana.
make sure they're away from that.
Mana.
And DPS are just not watching their threat. They really need to watch their threat here. The boss isn't tauntable. There's the second whirlwind. I'll pop my trinkets here. Heal the melee. So here's Demon Phase. I'm now going to be focusing on healing our Warlock tank, keeping hots up on him. During the last phase, the boss will also apply a debuff, which he enters at 20%. The boss will apply a debuff that increases the damage that the Warlock takes by a ton. So you definitely got to be careful. DPS are really just Zug braining here. And it is getting kind of annoying. Just stop trying to pad, because the more you pad, or try to pad, the worse it gets. So here, he's going to target 5 people, 4 people, no, 4 people, and create a copy of them, and you just have to kill it. They do take extra damage from every type of damage that healers normally do, so Holy, Nature, a couple other ones. I know they don't do Shadow, but basically, as healers, you just got to turn and kill them ASAP, let other people heal you, because you will be taking damage from your clone. As a hunter, I see a lot of hunters die to this. You have to kite it. Use wing clip, use traps, use your pet stun, use anything you have. Why isn't he getting... Where is he? There he is. There we go. Oops. Just make sure that you're kiting it so you can kill it. The other one that I see die a lot is going to be warrior tanks. You got to throw on 2 weapons and hit it, or else you just don't have the DPS to kill it. If you do not kill it in time, you get mind controlled, and even if we kill you, we cannot be res you, or you're going to be mind controlled again. So it's very important that you kill it, or else you're just gone for the rest of the fight and there's nothing we can do. Not paying attention to my mana because I'm boosted. So here's the demon phase again. He enters his last phase at 20%. If you push him during demon phase, you can continue to hit him while he's doing about 15 seconds of RP, which can be useful. If he's in human phase, when you do it, then you can't hit him. It's not the end of the world. The other thing to keep in mind is that during the last phase at below 20%, he's going to have both human and demon phase at the same time. So, again, big heals on the Warlock tank because he has that debuff that increases his damage taken. And then everybody else has to watch out for a Whirlwind. All his cooldowns reset, so if he's in human phase, he Whirlwinds, you push him, then he goes into the last phase, he's going to Whirlwind again right off the bat. So that can be extremely dangerous to the raid if they're not paying attention. This is very easy on healing, though. The Warlock can take massive spikes of damage depending on how much fire resist. How much fire resist they actually have.
Run away, little girl.
And then the Whirlwind, I mean, it's pretty predictable. You know your melee is going to get hit by it because they're never going to run out. The first Whirlwind in each phase doesn't have a working DBM timer for it, but it's usually about 5 seconds in. The second one, you can literally run out with 1 second left and not get hit, but that's never going to happen. So you just heal them through it. That's your job as a healer, to heal the stupid people who are trying to pad. For the most part.
It has been too long since I've tasted true freedom.
Run away, little girl.
So I'm just staying on circle. Our Warlock tank, he's going to take a lot of damage, and I, quite frankly, don't trust the other healers to be focusing him enough, because we don't really have healing assignments. I got hit by Whirlwind, I'm going to Bark Skin. I didn't manage to save anyone with Nature Swiftness, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. Ow. Ow. Pop a Hellstone there as well.
Run away, little girl. Run away.
Looks like our Warlock tank actually has quite a significant amount of fire resistance, so he's not in any real danger, but the problem is if he gets hit twice in a row, he'll still be very, very deadly.
That's right. Yes. You cannot kill me. Force. I'll be back. I'll.
Yeah, that certainly got a bit sketchy there toward the end, but all is well. That ends well. Click this console so I can see the center of my screen again, if nothing else. Nice thing about Druid is I don't have to worry about rezzing people after combat. But I do have to worry about buffs, so trade in one inconvenience for the other one, I suppose. Or just be a pally and have to deal with both. Gold starting good. So I'm a huge proponent of, as a healer, you have 3 jobs. A, keep the tanks alive. That's number 1, especially if you're assigned to the tanks. Don't worry about raid healing when the tanks are getting dumpstered. 2, keep yourself alive. So I guess there's 3 things. 3, keep the DPS alive, especially if they're not DPS who have a propensity to dying to standing in bad. And then 4, maximize your raid's DPS. And that 4th one is the important, and it's what I think separates a lot of good healers from great healers, is you should always be, and again, even outside of speedruns, if you're not doing anything else, if you're just sitting there on your hands, those are globals that you can be using to do other things, whether it's rebuffing people if that's needed after they've died, whether it's as a class like a paladin or a priest or a shaman using spells that do damage, whether it's using things like jewel crafting necks or drums or anything to increase your damage, your group's damage throughput. All those things matter, and even without being especially sweaty, there's still things that help your raid on progression and just in general. Now, jewel crafting necks are one of the things where it's kind of like, okay, you lose a bit of throughput by doing it, but losing 2% throughput to increase your group's damage by 3 to 5% is just super, super useful, and it's something that's always worth, in my opinion. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a jewel crafter who sells a whole bunch of them in the auction house. Nothing at all. There are 4 jewel crafting necks of note. I only have 2 of them on me right now. One of them increases your group's spell damage by 34. The other one increases your group's spell crit chance by 2. It lasts, it's like an aura, so if you die, it goes away. Otherwise, everybody who's in range of you, I think it's 35 yards at any one time, will continue to have it for a half hour. It lasts a half hour, it has an hour cooldown. So what most people who are using them do is they group up with another person and then you swap them every half hour. So you'll do like the 2% crit one for a half hour, then the 34 spell power for a half hour. That way you keep both buffs up on your entire group for the whole time. Though if you die, it still stays on cooldown, but you don't have that buff for a while. So there are ways to deal with that, whether it's having a third person with next ready to do backup or something else. And then for melee, there are two. They're a lot less effective, but they're still good. One gives plus 10 to all stats. That's plus 10 stam, agility, strength, which is worth for melee. It's not worth for casters. The other one gives 1.25% crit to melee, and that includes hunters as well. And again, those are useful as well, but usually you don't have a melee actually run that because it's a DPS loss. For the caster group, it's always worth to have two casters using two necks at any time in a full caster group. Usually one of them will be the healer, because again, loss in throughput isn't going to be what's killing you most of the time. It's just going to be people screwing up at mechanics, and so the more DPS you have, the less mechanics you have to deal with. But otherwise, for melee, running that isn't always really worth it, but if you have a healer in the group, then that helps a lot, because they can at least keep one of them up at any time. So here again, Tide Callers, purge them when they get the poison buff, which we're being pretty good at. And then the Shield Bearer has a charge, just don't get hit by it. Stack with the group unless you're the person who's supposed to be soaking it. I already have those, don't I? Sure do. For druids, all 5 pieces of tier 5 are best. You want 5 out of 5. The 4 set isn't pretty good. The 2 set is okay. The 4 set is in case your life bloom falls off, which isn't the greatest, but if you're just using 1 life bloom like I do all the time to spot heal people, then it'll just heal for 150 more when it falls off. So here we're going to have 6 more Colossi that we have to kill. Same shit, different day. As a healer, be 30 yards away from them. They have the spray, which you can position so it doesn't hit people either by running in or running to the side. Because we are in a hallway, you can either run backward, which is dangerous because everybody else has to outrange it too. Let's say the spew targets you, the acid geyser, and you run backwards. It's still going to hit everybody between you and the mob who is in range of the acid geyser. And then the quake obviously is something you just have to outrange, especially in this hallway. You have to be very careful when they die. One of the abilities they can use is to leave a giant puddle of poison on the ground. The effect is bigger than it is, and on a sloped terrain it gets even more confusing because it doesn't really display properly. So you just have to be really careful in here that when they die that you're not in range of them. I still wouldn't run in, even with mana mushrooms. Just because this other guy could have Spore Quake, he could have Geyser. Okay, so yeah, he's got Spore Quake. So I'm just gonna heal the melee here. In other groups, I might bid up tier that was going for this cheap, but I don't know the people in here. I don't know the gear they have. I don't know the gold they have, so upbidding it is just a risk. You know what? YOLO. I killed Pikachu. Pikachu died to the disease. He could have ice blocked it, but it just needs to be purged by Paladins, Priest, Shamans. It moves very quickly. It lasts for 2 seconds, it does a shitload of damage, and then it jumps to somebody else nearby. So you gotta purge it in those 2 seconds, or else it's just gonna keep jumping and hitting people. As a druid, I'm the only healing class who cannot dispel diseases. I probably could have healed him, though. if I was paying attention, but my UI doesn't even show when people have diseases. He also got it back to back, which is just extremely unlikely because again, it jumps. You know what? I'm betting that he's gonna go to at least 1,000. Let's hope he's not watching the stream. That would be sad. A lot of people just set kind of limits for themselves about what they're willing to bid on gear, and a lot of them are, yeah, at 1,000, at thousands, at 500s, that kind of stuff. So it's a relatively safe up bid. Worst case scenario, I can probably sell it to him for whatever his previous bid was and just lose 100 gold. So it is a risk, but it's a risk that you can. It's a calculated risk. So I'm just gonna let him sit at 1,000 because I don't know if he's willing to go more than that. I also just don't know how good the tier gloves are for Boomkin, so going any higher could be riskier because I don't really know how much he wants them. It's on Legendary, he's facing it for the entire raid. I'm just going to pop Tranquility here, though it's not really going to hit half my group anyway, because they were smart enough to get out of it. He's probably waiting to see if I'd bid it up again. So, our druid friend is running suboptimal gloves and not bidding on the tier gloves. Granted, they're 1,000, but that's really not that much, and it kind of annoys me when people show up to GDKPs and don't bid on upgrades, especially when they're that cheap. You're never going to get tier gloves for cheaper than that. Fucking bid on them. Because if you're coming to a GDKP only for the payout and not for gear, I don't know why you come to Forbes. They're a great GDKP, they clear stuff quickly, but the payouts aren't huge. So again, if you're a buyer and you want gear, come to these. Raise these pots, get us more gold, get yourself gear. Kind of in a wonky position here. I'm just going to stand off to the side. That way if he sport quakes, I don't get hit. And if he does his acid geyser and it's on me, great. If it's on somebody else, then I can just stay here. But he's using his frenzy. They only have one ability, and you can see where it is for my weak aura here. I'm in the process of making a better set of weak auras for these, but because it's the frenzy, you know he's not going to do anything else while he's alive. And honestly, for some groups, depending on who the main tank is, it might be better to not dispel the frenzy just so they get more rage incoming. Got another one coming in left. Okay, so yeah, there's the poison puddle. Melee just has to get the fuck out. Maybe even throw a hot on this hunter pet. With 2 shamans, unless there's really high burst damage, the hunter pet should be relatively safe from chain heal, and also circle of healing. If they cast it on the hunter group, and it's close enough to the pets, it will also heal the pets. I'm getting hit. Need to back up. He's dead. Imagine needing mana. So what Pikachu pointed out is a good point here. This pat here that comes back and forth through this hall, some idiot always pulls and pugs, so it's always helpful just kill them ahead of time so that you don't do that. If you pull them during the boss, you can very easily turn into a wipe. So it's going to be 2 Fathom Witches again. The thing with those is keep in mind they have a knockback, and they have mind controls. The mind controls can be grounded. The knockbacks, you definitely don't want to get knocked into the boss here. I'm going to just run with the tank who's taking the Fathom Witches. They're going to take them back into the hallway, and I'm going to move with them. Slurping Guards just have a Spell Reflect, and Shatters just have a Sunder Armor. So I'm just going to run with my friend here. Gonna Cyclone this healer. MD Amazing's MC'd. So I guess they're actually not pulling these back. What you want to do is pull these Fathom Witches back into the hallway. That way they're not MCing anybody. Guess I'm not going to do anything while I'm MC'd. I'm just going to walk around. That's cool. So for this boss, a couple things to keep in mind. There are 4 bosses, 3 mini-bosses, and a main boss. First one you kill is always going to be the Shaman. He's very dangerous. He drops Wind Fury Totem. You definitely need to kill him. He also caused Frost Blast on whoever's tanking him. It is imperative that whoever is tanking him always has a Grounding Totem down in their group. The Frost Shock cooldown is 15 seconds. Grounding Totem cooldown is 15 seconds. If you do not have a Grounding Totem down, you can literally get globaled at any gear level from the Frost Shock, so you need to have a Grounding Totem down. He also just does nuggy amounts of damage with his Wind Fury Totem, so it's very important that you give your tank a means to survive that via the Grounding Totem. After he dies, he also has one other totem. He drops 2 other totems. One's an Earth Bind, doesn't fucking matter. The other one is a totem, Spitfire totem, that targets the entire raid with fire damage. You need to kill it ASAP. It's always going to be your first kill priority throughout the entire fight. I'm gonna let him explain for a bit first. So Axe, the second kill priority, is a hunter. He has Bestial Wrath and or Beast Within. That's going to increase his damage and his pet's damage. He summons 2 different types of pets. Spore Bats hit really hard. The other ones, fuck them. I don't know what they do. They're not too dangerous. You just got to make sure to taunt the ads, kill the hunter. When he dies, when each ad dies, they give 1 ability to the main boss. When he dies, he gives the Beast Within to the boss, which will increase the boss's damage as well. So you just gotta be careful when he has that you got big heals on your tank. The third one that you kill is Square. That's Charybdis. She's a healer. She also has 3 abilities. One is going to summon a water tornado on top of a random player that will then chase random players as long as it's up. Just don't get hit by it. If you get hit by it, you get knocked up. You can't cast, you can't DPS. It sucks and it does damage. Number 2, she puts a freezing trap type debuff, or like a frost tomb type debuff on everybody in melee range. That's the one that she gives to the boss when she dies, so you want minimal melee on her at any time. It does about 2k damage and it freezes them for a few seconds. It can't be negated by Grounding Totem. It can be bubbled or ice blocked out of, but I don't know why a paladin or mage would ever be in melee range of her. Her third one is a heal. It heals for 120,000 damage. It cannot be line of sighted. It can be outranged. So you want to drag her Oh, she has 4 abilities. I'm sorry. So you have her super far away from the boss. That way she doesn't cast heal on him or any of the other 2 kill targets, because 120,000 health on any of these is just a major annoyance. It's about 20% of their health. And then the fourth one is an AoE Frostbolt Volley. That's the other reason you drag her out. She hits everybody in the raid with frost damage. When we go to kill her, we're going to try to have frost resistance up on as many people as possible via totems and or auras. That way they're just taking less damage from it. It is able to be healed through, but it is heavy AoE damage, and she kind of spams it. So when she dies, she gives her Frost Tomb ability to the boss. He's going to continue to stun and do damage to people in melee, but at this point they just kind of go through it. Rogues can also Cloak of Shadows out of it. The boss's main ability, he gets one from each of the mini bosses that you kill, and then he has a Shadow Bolt that is an instant cast. It targets one person, it knocks them down, and it does 50% of their base health. No matter what their health is, it does 50%. It can be extremely deadly if it targets a tank while the other ads are up. So you just have to make sure that, because all the damage and all the danger on this fight is relatively front-loaded, you pop all your cooldowns, you pop Lust, you kill Skull first, and then you go to X. Kill priority for DPS is always going to be Spitfire Totem first, then the Spore Bats from the Hunter mob, then Skull, then X, then Square, then Star. There are other strats where you can skip one or two ads. They have risks associated with them. The reason most people skip, or the mob that most people skip, is Charybdis. You basically just need a tank on her, and tank her far away, and then a healer on that tank, and you could ignore her. But once the boss gets below 70%, for each ad that's still alive when he hits 70%, he's going to get a big enrage on him. Having two enrages in the boss is essentially a wipe. It's extremely hard to heal through, because if you've killed the hunter as well, and he uses the beast within, he's just going to start one-shotting your tank. And even if you only have Charybdis up, if he uses the beast within and then his Shadow Bolt, he can still one-shot people. So it's extremely dangerous, but that's just kind of a risk that some groups take. The payoff for it is A, you kill the boss faster, B, you can despawn Charybdis after you kill the boss by just running out of the room, and C, your entire raid isn't getting hit by Frostbolt Volley, and at that point some healers are having mana issues, and with heavy AoE damage that can lead to falling behind on healing. Some groups also put an interrupter on Square. It needs to be a ranged interrupter, so usually it's a Resto Shaman. And
5,
then you just
4,
deal, because if it's a
3,
melee interrupter, they're going to
2,
get stunned by the Frost Tomb
1.
and be unable to interrupt. I should have been pre-hotting the tanks here. That was sloppy of me.
We have visitors.
But I'm going to pop both my trinkets and just heal my... Oh, I had aggro there. Just heal my ass off, keep everybody alive. So Square's in the middle of the raid. That's not good at all. I'm going to pop Barkskin here, because there's going to be another Frostbolt Volley coming soon. We lost one of our top DPS. There's the tornado that you want to dodge.
Help.
So yeah, the tanking Square. Are we lusting here? We definitely should be lusting here. We're falling behind on tank heals here. Huge heals on the tanks, guys. I'm gonna innervate my mage friend. Since I used a Healthstone and I just used a mana pot, I do have to be relatively conservative with my mana for the next minute or so.
I am more powerful than ever.
And what that means for a druid is not regrowthing unless you absolutely have to, and not letting your hots fall off, especially Life Bloom. Swiftmend isn't super mana efficient, but it is such a big emergency heal that it's not really something that you can just sideline until you have mana back. Okay, so we killed Skull. That's the majority of... oh, and the Shadow Bolt that he does also knocks you down for about a second, so it's going to interrupt any casting and stop using any instant cast for a second there. So once you kill the Shaman, the Spitfire Totem initially spawns under whoever casts it, so it's going to spawn under the Shaman, as long as he's alive, and then under the boss afterwards, so you just have to make sure that you have ranged DPS. Oh, Jesus. That was Lay on Hands, I think. Yep, Lay on Hands himself. I'm going to do that just to get that damn indicator off the top of my screen. So range are now going to go over to Charybdis. There's going to be heavy raid damage. I'm going to stay with Zamdu because it appears we're lacking heals on him. But I am going to be ready to Tranquility the range group, or just my group in general if needed. So melee don't swap to Charybdis because she's just going to stun them over and over and over again. That wasn't a great tranquility, but it's okay. And so you can see right now the boss is bigger in red. That's because he's used the beast within. So you just got to make sure that you keep the tank up. Scoobles could use an innervate if we have one available. Gonna start raid healing a little bit here. Especially again because I have the 2 set from tier 5, just sticking 1 stack of life bloom on everyone.
More knowledge, more power.
Okay. Ad's dead, so we can just zog onto the boss now. Once again, I let him oil fall off mid-pull. That's just sloppy of me. It's not normally worth putting up in the middle of a pull, especially when I let my damn life bloom fall off, but healers seem to have been caught up there. Looks like all day heal. If we have another innervate, all day heals could use it. All day heals is pretty low on mana. The rest of our healers seem okay-ish. Our Resto Shaman's kind of low as well. Oops, I just used an elixir on accident. Okay, so our priest is using mana pots at least. That's good. If you're a healer having mana issues and you're not using mana potions, especially on this server where they're 2 gold each, you're just a dick. Especially if you're in a GDKP, right? Like, oh, the fucking shaman trinket dropped. Yeah, it was 300 on MD Amazing was the last bid. So I use Elf UI for the majority of my UI. There's some things I don't like about it, but for the most part it's good. One of the things that I really like is that it can save up to 3,000 lines of chat. So I am always able to, and I have my chat sorted for certain things, so I can always scroll up and see what was going on, even like an hour ago. That's not the default setting, but it's relatively easy to find. It's just in the Elf UI chat settings. This is not set up correctly for some reason. So I have these raid cooldowns on the upper right part of my screen below my minimap. They show innervates, they show soulstones, they show big tank cooldowns like Last Stand and Shield Wall. They show DIs, they show Lay on Hands, they show Bloodlust, they show Misdirects. It's just stuff that I think is always worth tracking, especially as someone who is either, even if you're not the raid leader, I find myself making calls just because they need to be made, so if nobody else is going to make them, I will. So whether it's innervating other healers, or innervating myself, or getting soulstones out, make sure people lay on hands before certain boss fights, like Baj, where there's mind controls, and you don't want it to be popped to heal the boss and you yourself, that kind of stuff. Just being able to see all these cooldowns is super useful. There are plenty of weak auras that do it, there are plenty of add-ons that do it. I use Exorcist raid tools, now called method raid tools, just because that's what I'm used to. Pally Rogue Shaman tier always goes for a lot. Champion is really the big ticket item for tier, so I really hope, and legs are a big item too. They're one of the legs, helm, chest give a lot more stats than gloves and shoulders. Actually, I'm sorry, it's helm and chest give the most, then legs and shoulders, then gloves. Yeah, I was gonna say I'll take extra vortex luck on groups that are actually bidding for them. So these packs are relatively straightforward. There are warriors who have an enrage, and I think they have a threat drop. There are shamans with a lightning shield on them. That's actually super scary. The lightning shield is very important that you purge because it does not have an internal cooldown like most shields do, which means say you've got a bunch of melee hitting it, they can literally just absolutely dumpster themselves by hitting it over and over again. That's just on the guys called shamans. So we just got to make sure that we're purging those. I can't as a druid, but I'll target them and make sure it's happening. So yeah, here you can see the warriors are big, they're mad, they're hitting really quickly. So trying shutting them is important. Hydromancers do a Frost Nova and a Frost Bolt. They're relatively inconsequential. There's nothing you really have to worry about with them. The other one that we're missing here is called the Depth Seer. When it hits 50%, it's going to pop Tranquility. It's uninterruptible, and it will chain cast Tranquility, healing all other Murlocs near it until it dies. Some groups can have 2 Depth Seers in them, and as much as DPS love to pad, it's important once that ad gets below 50%. You focus the shit out of it, or else the pull. I've been in Pogs where the pull lasted literally like 4 minutes. Because Warlocks and Mages were so concerned with padding their meters. Yeah, you did 3,000 DPS, and the pull lasted 4 times longer than it should have, because you were busy padding. So especially with 2 Depth Seers, you definitely don't want to push them below 50% at the same time. You just want to focus them as soon as they start chain casting Tranquility. So here's a Depth Seer here. There's a second one there. More often than not, they come in packs of 2, I think, but I think all of these spawns are random. I haven't really confirmed whether or not. It's hard to keep track of the packs because they always just move around. But I was in a pug last night that had literally 0 Depth Seers, so it might be preset, like, loadouts for the Pats, or I don't know. But I've definitely almost always seen Depth Seers in pairs of 2. So here you can see they're both casting Tranquility, which is not what we want. Earn the Depth Seers, guys. Stop padding your DPS. Little known fact, the more you jump as a Resto Druid, the higher your plus ceiling gets. Very imperative. Much like Melee, where they're constantly zigging and zagging back and forth. You have to keep moving as a Resto Druid. More importantly, we got a Fist Weapon of the Wolf. We start bids on that. No. Oh god, no. DEs for 10 gold. Doesn't seem worth the time. If you're buying these vortexes at 2k each, you're still making 2k per craft. Make sure we're focusing the Depth Seers here. They start chain casting Tranquility below 50%. Okay, so looks like we only pushed 1. That's good. It's an improvement at least. The other one's getting there though. It's at 60% right now. Alright, we're good. Just got dumpstered by the warrior. I honestly don't know what the harpooners do. They're basically garbage, though. They don't do anything of note. If they did, I would know about it. Double vortex. If I was in my shaman, I would be bidding on every fucking one of these. They're so cheap. Oh, tank's dying. Tank's dying. There we go. So that's another case of Paladin ends up with threat on every single mob, and you just gotta have big heals on them until the other tanks manage to rip a couple off of him. Or her. No, just let them stick the fork in the outlet. They'll figure it out. So for this boss, he has a bunch of mechanics, but there's really only two things that can wipe you. A, the tank dies, B, the healers die. He does big dick damage to the main tank. You just gotta heal him through it. He spawns a bunch of Murlocs right after he does a shitload of AoE damage. He does about 3 to 4,000 to the entire raid, and it is the bane of healers because they're all like, oh god, people are dying, and gotta pop big ass heals, and then 10 Murlocs come in from different sides of the room, and they're just gonna dumpster any healer because the healers are gonna have threat because the tanks are gonna be in position to pick up Murlocs coming from separate directions. The Basically, the majority of the responsibility lies on their paladin. They drop currents crates at certain places at certain times so that the Murlocs run through them and they get at least some threat on them. But again, keep in mind, over half of a paladin's threat comes from being hit and proccing Holy Shock on the people, or a Holy Shield on the people hitting him. So it's important that you do not pull threat as a healer until the Murlocs are to the tank. This is especially true for Holy Priests and Shamans, but I've even seen Druids pull it. I have a VOD up, and I think I have a clip up on my channel of me kiting like 10 to 12 Murlocs because the tank was just absolutely struggle bussing, and I was on a Resto Druid. And I had not even healed once they spawned. It was just residual healing from the hots from before they even spawned. We can despawn the boss if you want to despawn the mobs. Yeah, Hunter, pull the boss and Pain. Everybody else back up. Don't. That's true, but the chance of pulling the boss with one Papago. Back your pet up. Be careful. It's not even that it's a speed run. It's that somebody's gonna pull it as we run past it. So by despawning the boss, you despawn any remaining Murlocs in the room, and there's one last pack of Fathom Witches and their followers behind him between us and the boss that also needs despawned. Okay.
Thank you.
So now they're despawned. Alright, just pop up and run back to us. That's all it takes. Yep. It despawns any remaining Murlocs in the room. Not just the ones behind him, but that being said, the 5 packs that pad around here constitute 20 Murlocs, and if you're looking at speed parses at all, you need to kill 20 Murlocs, so. So as healers, we just have to watch our threat. He also, the reason that a lot of healers, hold on. Nope. We're just barely on pace where I have to re-eat and re-spirit scroll before every boss. Oh, yeah, let me update my pally power. Oh, shit. So the one giving me wisdom right now is Holy Silver, so I'm going to change him to doing Salvation on me and on the other healing druid as well. Click this off so his pally power yells at him. So on a desynced timer from the Earthquake and Murloc spawn, which always happen together one after the other, you will also take 4 people and put them in bubbles, which will then do a burst of damage to them, knock them in the air, and then they'll take falling damage. So if it happens directly after the Earthquake spawn, they can die. The other catch-22 there is that if it happens right as Murlocs are spawning, and then you try to heal them or they try to heal themselves before the Paladin tank is aggro on them, they're just going to murder anybody on their way into the Paladin tank who's healing themselves. So you just have to watch the cooldowns there, especially on the second wave of Murlocs. It lines up almost perfectly, where the raid's going to get Earthquaked. You do need to do some AoE healing, or else they're going to die to the Water Tombs, but not enough to pull threat. It is a balancing act. Then the Water Tombs happen. Those people cannot heal themselves, and then, because the Murlocs are literally running past them as they're taking damage, they run back and we heal them up the rest of the way. I think it also lines up on like the 4th or 5th one. I don't know, because I don't usually get that far, and I just don't remember. But this is one of those bosses where he can have something on
5,
cooldown, not cast
4,
for 30 seconds
3,
too. I've seen him
2,
cast one Earthquake
1.
Murloc combo during a kill, and he just sat there having the ability up for almost a full minute. So it's important the range stays stacked up here so that the Paladin can easily gather the Murlocs as they come in. Looks like I used one of Legendary's hots there for my Swiftmend, which, or not Legendary, one of the other Resto Druid's hots. So here you can see the people who got put into the Water Tombs. We just heal them a bit. Murlocs are about to come in. So I'm going to find our Paladin tank, and I'm going to just stay in his Consecrate. The problem with tanking him basically in the center here is that both waves of Murlocs come in at once, which can be very dangerous. Most groups tend to tank it off to one side, just so that the Murlocs come in staggered and it's easier to pick them up. It means that you have to wait longer to DPS them, but it makes it easier to pick them up in general. They can be AoE stunned, but you have to be careful because if they are all stunned at once, they will all melee the tank at once, which can cause a
Mana.
huge spike of damage. I'm actually going to regrowth the tank.
Destroy them.
Now we just
my
gotta watch our threat.
subjects.
We are kind of lacking DPS here too. I'm gonna pop Tranquility here. This is the dangerous one. Tranquility doesn't. God damn it! I was thinking in the back of my mind. I sure as shit hope that doesn't happen. I should have called out that as a healer I was bubbled there. I was too tilted about getting bubbled during Tranquility to call it out. It's just sloppy. That's just tilting. I mean, it's a small chance that it can happen, but it can happen.
Only the strong will survive.
Looks like we had 2 of our tank healers get bubbled there. I should have called it. I was a bit tilted there. Sorry. I was mad at myself for getting bubbled during Tranquility. But yeah, if 2 healers get bubbled, especially 2 tank healers, you need to communicate that to the rest of the raid so that they know to pick up your slack. So the bubbles always spawn in the exact same spot each time. There are 4 waterfalls falling from the roof of the room, from the ceiling of the room. If you tank the boss, say, at the top of this ramp here against this pillar, which is a good place to tank him, then only one of them is ever out of range at your healers. Cones, are you spamming Holy Light when they spawn? Okay. So what the Paladin tank usually does is they're going to spam heal on someone who has taken damage so that they gain healing threat. Righteous Fury does increase healing, or increase threat by healing as well, so they get a lot of threat by doing that. Couple caveats to that. A, overhealing doesn't cause any threat, so if you're going to overheal someone, just use Flash of Light instead. B, Warlocks can force themselves to take more damage via Hellfire, but it is dangerous, but everybody is just taking damage from Earthquake anyway. And Warlocks also take 20% more healing as one of their self-buffs, which means that if you're Holy Lighting or Flash Lighting them, you're just causing 20% more threat, which can mean the difference between life and death for your DPS and healers as you're getting those Warlocks into position. Didn't look like it. We had a couple we had 1 frost trap on each side, and I think 1 or 2 earth binds, but they were basically on top of the frost trap totem, or on top of the frost traps. So in case you haven't picked up what's going on here, Warlocks have a talent that increases the amount of health that they and anyone else who uses their Healthstones get back from the Healthstone. The standard Warlock spec is to put 2 out of 2 an improved Healthstone. However, if some Warlocks in your group have either 1 or 0 of that, or points into that talent, then you can have up to the 3 different Hellstones, because each one that heals a different amount is a different item. You can carry up to 3, you can use up to 3 per fight. Just keep in mind that they share cooldowns with things like mana gems, dark runes, etc. But it gives DPS and healers more options when they need them to heal themselves when they have more than one at once. And there's a macro that's publicly available if you just Google it. Or actually, you know what? You can just take a screenshot of it here as well. And then type it in. That'll use all 3 of them in the order of the best one to the worst one. Here you go, it's in Twitch chat. You can't put in Master Healthstone because all 3 of them share the same name, but they don't share the same item ID. So that's why I use the item ID there. Double check my buffs. I've got everything that I need. There's no shadow damage on this fight, so it's not important that that gets refreshed. We have 5 druids, and I'm one of them, and I have a soulstone on me, so we should have enough to deal with anyone who dies early on this fight. We do want to keep 1 soulstone in case we wipe here, so we have another one.
5, 4,
Druids
3,
need kings, please.
2, 1.
Flood of the deep.
Yeah, I know. We need
Take
kings too.
you.
We don't have wisdom. Fucking too late now. I even set up Pally Power so they wouldn't have to change anything. Alright, so there's the Watery Graves. You can see them highlighted on my UI. That's a custom weak aura that I have.
Mana.
But it's relatively easy
Mana.
to set one up like that.
Mana.
So here come the Murlocs. I'm just going to watch our Paladin tank. There he is. And I'm just going to make sure that I stand near him for his Consecrate. Ideally, he'd be running out and pre-dropping Consecrate on one of these packs to help us. But I just got to watch my hots. Don't heal. Okay. I have threat on one. Okay, there we go. I should have had more pre-hots on him. I was a little bit scared. I'm not as familiar with the strat where we stand in the center, so I have to be a little bit more cautious with my threat here. We lost 2 DPS again. We got at least 1 healer bubbled.
Health.
Shit, got a Hellstone? Okay, got it off in time. The fall damage would have killed me there.
Struggling only makes it worse.
Kill the Murlocs as we go. Face the boss away from us.
By the tides.
New Murlocs are coming. This is probably just going to be a full
Only
wipe.
makes it worse.
Can we get a DI out? We got, yeah. They're both dead. Okay, so I have a Soulstone, so I'm going to use it, because otherwise it's wasted, but I don't really have a res that's not on a cooldown. I
Mana.
didn't have it up. You're fucking kidding me. two healers rather got bubbled again. We just gotta call that out, which I did. And healers, just be ready to just pump into the tanks there. Yes, everybody else is taking damage, but once the watery graves are out, there's no other lethal damage that can happen for like 40 seconds. Just keep the tanks alive. Yeah, I mean, AK healing is about as much as you can ask for from Pally Tank there. It's pretty damn good. Since there was an issue with Pally Power last time, I'm gonna double check and see what they screwed. Yep, so they literally undid the changes that I made to Resto Druids there. But it's not a big deal, I'm just gonna change it back. Yeah, hunters, if they are engineers or even if they aren't, can help the tanks a lot here by using misdirect and either an explosive trap or a sapper or a grenade or anything like that. The problem with explosive trap is that you cannot have explosive trap and frost trap down at the same time, and because of the strat we're using, we're relying on the hunters to lay frost traps. Yeah, if you use the fire trap and there's no frost trap, which is pretty risky. I don't think that's true. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, this is definitely one of those instances where DPSing early actually makes things way worse and it makes it killing it take way longer. Right, keeping MPA up, keeping debuffs on the boss. And I mean, honestly, it's wasted DPS if you kill one Murloc 15 seconds before the rest of them anyway. So, because the AoE will kill them evenly. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, Zuli raised a good point. I wasn't paying attention, but let's make sure that we have Demo and Thunderclap on the ads, please. And definitely Scorpid Sting, Insect Swarm, etc. on the boss as well. He really hits like a truck. Somebody doesn't have a headset. Well, 5% reduced chance to hit is, it actually is more than 5% chance because it stacks with all the other debuffs that are on the boss. So I mean, it's multiplicative. So having all those things on the boss is just more and more and more useful for reducing the amount of damage the tank takes. Yes, it means slightly less rage, but it also means that while the pally is getting trucked, the warrior may not also be getting trucked. It's just as much a thing about keeping the tanks alive from the tank perspective as it is from healers having so much to do during that phase that we cannot always meet the throughput requirements. Especially people are worrying about the raid instead of the tanks. If all 6 healers were paying attention to the tanks like they should be, it shouldn't be an issue, but that's never going to happen because you're going to have AoE healers just trying to pad as soon as it's safe to, or even sometimes before it's safe to. So, pre-hotting the wrong tank
5,
here.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Blood of the
So
deep.
especially on bosses like this that hit very hard, it's important that you have pre-hots on the tank because all the other healers are going to be getting into position. So you definitely want to have all your hots on him before he runs in. Also keeps him second on threat just in case shit hits the fan. Or at least higher on threat, right? So the Murlocs. There's really not much healing to be done here, so I'm just kind of
Destroy
chilling
them,
and regenning mana.
my subjects.
I'm gonna wait to use my mana potion till after they're in, because that does cause threat as well. Regenning mana causes threat. Oh shit. I'm gonna war stomp them here. Make sure the tank is fully healed
Mana.
before they come out of it.
Health.
Health stone.
Mana. Mana.
Scooble's heading out to get him. Died in the middle of nowhere.
Mana. Mana.
I'm actually gonna pop a dark rune here. Just wanna
Destroy
make sure that we're
them,
good for
my
this.
subjects.
And
Mana.
I'm gonna pop Tranquility here. This is the ugly one. We're gonna pray I don't get tombed again. I'm specced into it. It doesn't cause any.
Mana. Mana.
Whoa.
It is
Down
done.
goes the tank. Get him up, get him up, get him up. Rebuff some legendary. Wasn't able to get my Swift Bend off there in time. Okay, so I'm just gonna Bark Skin here. Murlocs are coming very soon. Murlocs incoming.
Health.
My
Great. He marked Xandu as a tank. That's super useful. Oh shit, here come Murlocs. I have to watch my threat. I'm gonna run off to the side here, just so that I'm kind of tangent to them. There's our second Tranquility. That's good. Got War Stomp up again. I'm going to do that here. And use that global to get my hots back up in the tank. I haven't been trinketing. That's just sloppy of me. Especially when the throughput is so needed here. Mana Potion again. Alright, Water of Graves just went out, so now I can afford to use another Dark Rune as well. Except I'm relatively...
Destroy them, my subjects!
Oh. I've been kind of greedy here with my hots. I have to be careful. Gonna run Tangent again. 2 healers and bubbles. Actually, it looks like it was only
Help.
1. I just saw... Oh, I'm dead. Not dead. I should have popped in cat form, though. That was sloppy of me. Panicked a bit. I had NS too, I just didn't have Hellstone. UI isn't showing Druid B rests. I need to fix that. Should. Things up. 25%. So here under 25%, he will spawn bubbles from those waterfalls that run toward the raid. By tanking him in this corner, they will never reach the raid, and you can just ignore the mechanic entirely. Shit, I never innervated our mage friend.
Only the strong will survive. There is nowhere to
I'm actually not
hide.
sure how the threat on Innervate works. It is a mana regeneration, so it should give one of us threat. I'm just not sure if it's me or him. There goes one of our priest healers. Get an AoE stun on these. Big heals on empty. He's down. I am so That was sloppy of me. I had a mana potion up and I wasn't using it. Boss is at 1%. Boss is 1%. Kill them after.
Recurrence of Aegean.
Easy peasy. Looks like we're probably going to call it here. This raid only goes 3 hours and there's not enough time to even get a meaningful pull in Vaj. Why? He's actually like dying here. All our healers are that's why. So you go over click console, realize our tank was still dying. Well, we clicked all the consoles. That's what counts, right? Ugh, healing there was abysmally low. Not as low as the shamans. Oh, that's right. This is the first time this group has actually run, so 5 out of 6, not terrible at all for 3 hours. Better than going 4 out of 6 in 5 hours. Nah. Time to join an excellence GDKP. It's Greg and Mag and Girl, so I really don't think anything can go wrong. Alright, while I wait for the summon for this next GDKP, I'm just going to keep streaming. I'm going to change the stream title, and I'm going to go grab a bite to eat and a drink really quickly. I'll be back in just a couple minutes once I change this. Alright, looks like cuts were just under 600 gold. Now that I know that, I'm just going to swap discords to this next GDKP.
My blood will be the end of you.
Each person still has to pay for a transfer, it just transfers the infrastructure of the guild. It actually costs $10 more for the GM to transfer, and the guild moves with him. But then you move the guild bank with you move the ranks with you, all that stuff. Yes. That They happen on high pop servers all the time. People would just make casual guilds, invite anybody who was ungilded, and then just basically keep the money for themselves as GM. They got rid of it eventually, yeah. Yeah, the screams of whoever you have locked up. Alright, we're back. Sorry, I was eating. This is relatively straightforward. There's not much to be said here. This content has been figured out. It's very easy at this point. If we wipe, one of two things happens. Either we fuck up clicks, we fuck up interrupts, like a lot of interrupts, or the tank just dies. This boss has been nerfed into the ground at this point. In case you have not done it, since Tier 5 came out, the same 5 people can click the cubes each time, which makes it much easier. Shadow Ball volleys have been nerfed into the ground, Rain of Fire has been nerfed into the ground, Infernal melee damage has been nerfed into the ground. Excuse me. To the point where it's basically no threat at all if Infernals aren't even banished, though they still should be. However, screwing up the cube clicks can still very easily cause a wipe. The only reason I'm here, other than what will very likely be a mediocre payout unless DST drops, that I want the knockoff of Groll still.
Wretched, meddling insects. Release me, and perhaps I will grant you a merciful death.
So the strat here as a Resto Druid is very straightforward. You can keep Life Loom up to 4 people, up to 4 people at once.
4,
There's only 3 tanks, so
3,
I'm just going to keep Life
2.
Loom on all 3 of them, and I'm going to use every 4th global to rejuve somebody, or Life Loom somebody else. By standing in the rec center of the room, I can reach all 3 tanks at once. Fuck, I'm bad. I let Life Loom fall off there. I was paying attention. So as we kill the last of the ads, you need to make sure to not be directly under the boss. When he comes out, he can just stomp whoever's in melee range, so you just gotta be careful. Pretty hot, that tank. Make sure he's got stuff on him while he's repositioning, and the other healers are repositioning.
Unleashed.
This one doesn't have anyone next to it. I'm gonna hover over there just... Okay, there we go. So the clicks are always right after this knock around, unless something really bad happens with the timings, which can happen. That's really annoying, but there's no one standing over here. Okay, looks like it's Joe Hammer. Just kidding.
Not again. Not again.
So it's important that you hold this click for as long as possible, because it increases the damage that the boss takes. However, you also take damage while you're clicking it. Since he's not actively hitting the tank, Healer 0 is just healing whoever's clicking the cubes there. I just let my left loop fall off, like an idiot. So,
Not again. Not
looks like both of our arcane mana, or mages, are being relatively conservative with their mana. So I'm just going to go ahead and innervate this Ellie Shaman here, who is enhanced, so I'm an asshole. Oops. Well, congratulations. Enhancement Shaman just got a fucking innervate.
Not again. Not again.
Just let life bloom. So as the tanks, or as the boss is coming out of the stun, I want to make sure that I have rejuve
I will not be
on the
taken
boss,
so
or on the
easily.
tank, so I can be ready
Let the
to
walls
swift mend
of
him
this
as needed.
prison tremble.
As soon as the ceiling falls through here, I'm going to pop Tranquility, heal my group up, ensure I'm in range of everyone. Otherwise, I'm just pre-hotting people, knowing that we're about to take big raid damage. Ow. As soon as it's no longer effectively healing people, I'm going to stop the Tranquility early and just keep on healing.
Not again.
And I'm healing the clickers.
Not again!
Blame the paladins that didn't bop. Especially important if you get knocked in front of the boss, you try to get out of the way as soon as possible. If you have any defensives, pop those as soon as possible because he does have a cleave. During that knockaround, if you get knocked in front of the boss, it's very likely to one-shot you without any defensive cooldowns up. Tank is dying.
The Legion will consume you all.
Defender hero tokens. Those, along with the obvious gem bag and head. That one's pretty nice. Um, I could have been on that. Sure. Fantastic. I said fantastic. That's for the, yeah, the head. I have too many alts to keep track of which ones have which gear. Fucking, why am I betting this much on a ring? I should have passed the 15. That's alright. Whatever. I got gold. Let's spend it. I gotta turn that in really quickly while we wait. One living ruby paid for itself. There we go. Got that vendor talosite too. It's pretty damn good. There they go. I already have it. I'm just gonna pass that, pass that. Sorry, I didn't realize I already had it. Me be dumb. There they go. Imagine Defender tier going for as much in P4 as the tier 5 shit. Excellence runs are notorious for Defender tier being especially cheap. That's how I managed to get 3 pieces of tier 5 on this ult. Now the question is, how many weeks will it take Excellence to clear Black Temple and Sunwell?
Speak, friend. Loktar.
That was almost tragic. I'd turn it on.
Be safe.
Okay. Minor upgrade.
What do you need? Thrall Hall.
Get rid of the shitty healing ring.
For the Horde.
Oops. Oh no, I'm being hacked. Quick, somebody clip it. I have actually lost track of which alts have which gear, so I was trying to quickly look. You can't accept a summon while you're falling, so it's gonna be a res. Don't do it. Without clipping it. Guess I should actually pay attention, huh? Oh boy. Well, I appreciate that he either had faith or wasn't paying attention enough to lay on hands himself. And there goes a priest. Every time they roar, I get a huge FPS spike. It's interesting. Us buyers, though. So for this fight, there are 5 mobs. Diamond does a whirlwind. X has does fear. He summons a fell puppy. Moon casts really hard hitting fireballs. Has a spell shield. Skull is a healer. He has multiple heals. Just gotta kill him first. And the last one is an arcane mage. He does polymorph and arcane explosion, arcane shot. So we always kill Skull first. We interrupt the shit out of him. We kill X next. This guy's a which one is the Fire Nova? This one. Okay, so you kill X next. He summons a Fell Puppy. You can enslave the Fell Puppy as a Warlock and use it against them, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. Just banish it. Moon, you need a mage tank for. He spell steals the buff off of the boss so that the boss doesn't one-shot him and so that the boss can actually take damage. Square has an arcane explosion and he has a polymorph. So if you get too close to him, he's going to arcane explosion you and knock you back, and you need either a boomkin to tank it because they are immune to polymorph, or 2 other ranged DPS to tank it. Because when he polys one, he'll just go on to the second on threat and vice versa. You kill Diamond last, he just has a whirlwind, don't get zugged by it. Moon also has a blast nova that hits everybody in melee range, slows them, and does an assload of damage, so you never want anyone in melee range of Moon. In terms of healing, there's nothing really to note on this fight, just, keep pots on the tanks.
Five,
Alright, I'm gonna go
4,
pretty hot,
3,
UG.
2, 1.
Run are the real power in Outland.
Lost all one group. I'm also gonna pop all my healing trinkets here. Not having healing assignments kind of sucks here. Things are a little bit chaotic, but I think we're gonna pull through.
Mana.
So we're killing Skull first.
I'm
Mana.
not afraid of you.
Then we're gonna swap to
Mana.
X. Ooh.
You won't kill next one so easy.
Maybe they just never want to be in range of Moon, because he has that Blast Nova. So Square does have the knockback with the Arcane Explosion, but it's not that big a deal. The Fire Nova is much worse. And as you saw, at least that Druid do, you can also use gap closers midair to immediately get back on the boss
Mana.
again.
Mana.
You
Mana.
won't kill next one so easy.
Can pop that just to get it off my screen.
I'm not afraid of you. You will not defeat the hand of Gruul.
Looks like defender shoulders, hero shoulders, wrists. So this next fight has also been nerfed into the ground. There's really nothing much to do with it in terms of healing. There's one tank, the second person on threat who is in melee range, is also going to get hit periodically for about half their health-ish. We don't have tremors because we have no damn shamans. And that's going to hit them, I don't know, every 25-ish seconds, 20, 30 seconds, somewhere in that range. Other than that, there's stuff falling from the roof. If you stand in it, you take damage. If you're like a rat paladin or a warrior, it does so little damage that it can be used to get rage and or mana back. Otherwise, just don't stand in it. You use this an ability that after several, it'll knock everyone to different parts of the room. You can still kind of predict where you're going to get knocked because there is a maximum range for how far you can get knocked, and the room's pretty damn big. So if you spread out beforehand, then it's very unlikely that everybody will get clumped up at the same time. 4 seconds after you get knocked around, you'll get stunned, and for every person close to you when you get stunned, you're going to take damage. The damage that you that you do take has been nerfed a lot, and the range, it's based on your range from other players, and that range has also been expanded a lot so that it's much less deadly. Yeah, if you go in the front door, it's still pretty easy to get thornling seeds. You just start at the top. There's a couple big trees, but if you work your way around the ring above the above the foliage area below you, there's a bunch of seeds up there, and then you drop down, pick a bunch of seeds, zone out, repeat. I'm not doing well with words today. Right. How did you not die? Of all the people that should deserve to get one shot by charge, it's level 65. Blood for the blood god. So these guys charge, which isn't the end of the world. The problem is that they also cleave on their way back into the tanks. So that's what's actually deadly about it. Also, if you've got... No, there were definitely people standing out. They also can follow up their charge with a melee. That's just gonna one-shot them. Right, it's not just you when you don't stack. They'll cleave on their way back into the tanks, so you're risking everyone when you don't stack. Rapid shot. Only 4. Nice. So this one, I'm literally just going to keep hots up on the tank. Feel anybody else is taking damage. All one group's list.
Unworthy.
Alright, so I'm gonna
Mana.
put some hots on this
Scurry.
brother. I'm gonna pop
4,
into bear form here,
3,
just make sure that I don't
2,
die. The extra health will
1.
keep you alive, but I really don't. Yeah,
For
that damage is
life.
negligible at this point. It's important to get hots and big heals on the tank ASAP after this. Again, some healers like to worry about padding more than actually healing the people who are who really need it. And I'm gonna use any extra globals to heal the warriors who are standing in the stuff for rage.
No escape.
4,
Barkskin here too, because I'm in the middle of the room.
2, 1.
Or not.
Beg for
So I don't have
life.
Barkskin bound in bear form for some reason. Be greedy here and just innervate myself. Nope. I'm actually bad. Hello? So I guess it doesn't work if I'm not mousing over myself. I need to fix my macro. That's awkward.
No more.
Just putting the fear of God in you, Justin. I was busy trying to figure out why the fuck my innervate macro wasn't working. Priorities. I mean, I'll pay 10k just to piss off a server.
Escape.
4, 3, 2.
Fucking, yeah. It 100% drops when he shatters and we don't, or when he kicks us and we don't get shattered, because there's no one to confirm. Sadly, no neck. Don't you fucking let him take that for 10k, so help me God. What a dick. No, no, it takes that long for the transaction to go through the website. You right. I can't believe that one for 10.3. Yeah, you're gonna move from like 16th place to 14th place on DPS. Super psyched. It's stupidly cheap. I'm still seeing him go for like 18k. Dude, seriously? This shit? That's, to be fair, Champion League's gonna suck. Fucking shouldn't be. I wouldn't invite a hunter wearing tier 4 over Beast Lords. Good, this is ammo to fuel controversy, which gets me more viewers. Oh look, a hunter who doesn't know what gear he wants. There's a surprise. Excuse me. 25k on Joe? 25k? No, I'm fucking around anyway. I'm a druid. Yeah, but when you were naked, I was there, but you didn't know it. Can we get these guys in our tier 5 runs so Defender doesn't go for like 600? Oh, okay. Well, we need people on Defender tokens. Well, not terrible. All of this together will pay for that ring that I got from Mags. We're close to it. While I've got you here, Justin, am I arcane tanking tomorrow night on my shaman? Alright. Alright, thanks everyone for watching. Much appreciated. Leave a follow. It helps out a lot. You can also check out my YouTube. The link's in the doobly-doo down below. I stream pretty much everything that I raid from healer point of view with commentary and comms. Resto Shaman, Resto Druid, Holy Paladin. Eventually I'll work on a Priest as well. And I just try to provide commentary and little known facts, trivia, tips and tricks, that kind of stuff for stuff that you might not know. Have a nice night, or have a nice day, I guess, and see you next time.